You just gotta wing it.
Hey weirdos, True Weirdo here today. We are actually working on a truck today. We got PJ doing all the mechanic work.
Yes.
And then we were working on my best friend's truck, Tavik.
Hey.
So what are we doing today, PJ?
Hello everyone. Welcome to the channel. Today we're gonna be replacing brake lines. But we're not gonna be making any brake lines. We went ahead and got the GM factory brake line kit that we're gonna be installing on this truck. After doing a lot of brake lines, I have found that the factory brake lines, as far as the kits, are the best ones to install. They actually have a coating on them and they fit phenomenal. They're pre-bent. So I don't know if you want to get a part number off of this, but this vehicle is a 99 Silverado 1500 two-wheel drive. It is a extended cab with a short bed. But we're going to be going ahead, we're going to lift the vehicle up. We're also going to be checking it over for Virginia state inspection because this vehicle is going to need to be inspected. We want to go ahead and check it over and make sure nothing's going to fail the vehicle. From there, we're going to cut in and we're going to show you some details as far as installing these brake lines and also preparing yourself for removing the brake lines so you don't have any troubles moving forward in the job.
Go ahead and
Put them somewhere?
in a second.
Okay.
All right, so all four wheels are now loose. Wanted to skip that boring part for you. Putting these bad boys on.
What kind of tires you got there?
So, one of the things I've always wanted to do is a new set of wheels and tires in this truck. We have currently 16-inch rims, or 16-inch wheels on the truck now that are wrapped in 245, 75, 16s. I decided I want to go with something a little bit bigger on the wheel size. We're going to do a 18-inch wheel with 255, 55, 18s. It will be a 29-inch tire, or in wheel combination, which is pretty much exactly where the factory wheel is sitting with the tires that are on it now. So I wanted to keep as same profile as I could get, and this is where I came out to.
Why is that? Weren't you going to be doing something else in the future to this
Well,
vehicle?
yeah, so originally my plan for this truck is to lower it. I have plans to do a 4.6 drop on the truck, bring the back down 6 inches, bring the front end down 4 inches, get a nice low level profile, and from all the research I've done in the past, it has told me that 30 inches is right around where you want to stay if you want a good flush look on your truck on a nice low platform. So that's where we got, and that's what we're going to go with for now, and we will reevaluate in the future once all that work is done, but that's for another day.
Stay tuned to the channel and you'll find out more.
What he said.
Need to be replaced?
So this truck does not have drums, as was just found out by the owner.
Usually these older trucks, you know, especially work trucks, drums are pretty common. They're cheap to produce, they have much longer lasting life on them than your standard rotor brake caliper combination. But, you know, looking over
She
the truck,
has
we noticed
drums.
it's got some rust. We're gonna evaluate from there and see what we get.
Incoming for more. All right, so currently, I don't know if you can see this. Oh, you can. It's very visible.
So, with all old trucks and all old things that sit for a while and, you know, get neglected for the most part, we find that we have surprises that we have to take care of. One of the surprises here is this rotor is very scored and the brake pads are metal on metal, which means we're going to need to replace those for Virginia state inspection standards, also for safety, because we don't have any more material that can grip the rotor to slow the truck down. It's an unfortunate find, but it's good that we did find it so that we can take care of it before we do get it over to get it state inspected. So that's where we're gonna be, y'all. Going next. Time to make some phone calls.
Okay.
Welcome back, everyone. So we went ahead and removed all the wheels. From here, since we are replacing the brake lines, we want to make sure before we proceed with the job of replacing the brake lines, we need to inspect all of our brake bleeder screws. And the reason why, because brake bleeder screws can rust. And when they rust, it could be as far as trouble getting them loosened. And you say, well, why is it so important to get them loose? Well, we need to be able to bleed the brakes after we replace the brake lines. So once we removed the wheels, I went ahead and inspected all the brake bleeder screws. The rear bleeder screws on the rear brake calipers are in good shape. The front ones were a little bit more concerning. Went ahead and checked the passenger front, was able to put a wrench on it, break it free. Before I proceeded to break them free, I went ahead and took a wire brush and cleaned them. But we got to the driver's front, and the driver's front was a little, as far as rusted. Couldn't fit a socket on there and had to proceed to use a pair of vice grips. But before we used a pair of vice grips, we took called a induction heater, and we heated up the bleeder screw, and then we were able to break it free. Now, could have just gone ahead and tried to break it free without heating it up, but you take a chance of the bleeder screw breaking off inside the brake caliper. Once that happens, then you could try to extract it, or you have to replace the whole entire brake caliper assembly. But we go over here and we get the cameraman to go ahead and show this bleeder screw and show how rusted it is. And for everybody that does not know what a bleeder screw is, it's right there. That bleeder screw was really rusted, but we got it break free. So now we're gonna go ahead and use our snap-on brake bleeder tool. We'll hook up the air hose to this, and this will hook onto the bleeder screws, and we're gonna wanna suck all the fluid out. So when we go ahead and remove the brake lines, we don't get covered in brake fluid and we don't have a mess. This helps us save some time and keeps the job clean. See you soon.
And recording.
All right, guys, welcome back. So we're actually trying to take off this caliper right now. One of the things that I actually wanted to show you is actually a good finding. We found that the caliper bolts, rust has not really infiltrated them at all, and they look really, really good, which is a great sign, because obviously anything that rusts can be a real big pain to get off, and these actually popped right out. But now we're gonna try and caliper's pretty on there pretty tight, you know? So let's find a pry bar.
Probably has to do with this.
My head screwdriver is not the typical tool I'd like to use, but it will work. Get into this between the rotors, get a little bit of gap going. Get nice and loose. So there's your actual caliper bracket and caliper as one piece. As you can see, that's where the pad is on metal. The backside actually has a little bit of material left. I would say it's probably about 30 seconds worth of material. Factory, the standards for Virginia State Inspection says it has to be more than 2, but since my front pad is at 0, it's still not going to pass. So our wonderful camera guy and I, Mr. Weirdo himself, are going to go out and get ourselves some pads and rotors.
Be back soon.
Well,
All right.
all right, everybody, welcome back again. So, as you might notice, this is not normal. This is actually the backing plate for the e-brake, which goes behind the rotor, and we have found that it is completely rusted apart. And that's one more thing for us to replace. Unfortunately, it's a byproduct of years and years of just sitting and not being used, and age and all the other factors. So we are going to have to address this, because this is what's going to keep the brake shoes, basically all the dust and debris from the outside of the brake shoes onto the frame and everywhere else. And you know, yeah, good times. Good times.
I can cut it. That works.
Yep, got it.
Okay. What are we doing, Tavik?
So we are removing the inner fender liner because it'll actually give us easier access to the brake lines, so that when we replace them, we won't have to sit there and try and maneuver around all the mechanical components. It'll be all fairly accessible for right this area.
They're not easy to get out sometimes. And we're good.
Welcome back, everyone. So we went ahead and removed the front inner fender liners, and the reason of that, so we can gain more access to the brake lines. As you can see here, we have the brake lines, and it's a whole lot easier to get to with the inner fender out. And you can see why we are replacing the brake lines, because the amount of rust built up on the brake lines, and we don't want to have a brake line bust on us while driving this vehicle. So now we got the inner fender liners out, we're gonna go ahead and raise it up, and we'll be right back. So right here we have the ABS unit. Some people refer to as that, but it's actually two separate units. At the top here, we have the electronic brake control module, and down here where all the brake lines go into is the brake pressure modulator valve. Now, the reason why we're showing this is because of the locations of your brake lines. It's very, very important to know the location of your brake lines, because once you remove all the brake lines, that you need to know where they go as far as corresponding to the right front, left front, and the rear, and where the two brake lines come from the brake master cylinder for the front and rear brakes. So we're gonna go ahead, follow each brake line. We're gonna mark it down on a piece of cardboard, and then once we mark everything down, we'll go ahead and start removing the brake lines.
See you once we got that done.
Recording.
So, do your magic.
So she said.
Due to technical difficulties, I'm switching to the phone, so the recordings will not be as good from this point on. Also, we're putting in the new brake lines now.
So what I like to do, not everybody has to do it, but I like to add electrical tape to the end of the brake line fitting. One that protects the I'm a shining light. For one that protects the brake line fitting from any damage when feeding the brake lines through, because these are pre-bent lines, but mainly to keep any dirt out of the brake line until you get it to its destination to hook it up, to keep any dirt out of the brake line. Put electrical tape around it. That's it.
While he's doing all that, so we went and got some new parts, brake components, brake pads, brake shoes,
And a brand new rotors. By the way, we are not an advertisement company, so this is not an advertisement for Brake Best. This is literally just what we had to work with. So this is what we'll be putting on the truck. Not my particular first choice. I'm usually kind of guy who likes things as factory as possible, but make do with what we got. It's a Sunday. Here we are.
Hey everybody, full disclaimer, don't walk under a vehicle when it's lifted up like this. It is very dangerous. Nothing is holding it in place. Nothing. It's just sitting there. So, anything you see me do not replicate. Anything you see anyone else here do not replicate. He is a trained professional. He's been doing this for 20 million years.
How many years you been doing this, PJ?
Over 15.
Over 15 years. He has been doing this as long as possible.
15 years. Man, still single, ladies. He's great to have around.
All right, disclaimer out of the way, we'll get back to the work. sometimes a little extra bending helps.
Yes.
Just don't kink them. Don't kink the lines, you'll be fine.
Nothing's ever perfect. Just remember that, especially when you're working with an older vehicle.
And you got to remember, this is a 99. This is from 21 years ago. This line was probably sitting in the back of some warehouse somewhere.
Better than my car.
Okay. Your car's 30 years old. It makes it a little different.
Almost as old as I am.
Tells you something, folks. It's almost as old as he is.
While we're waiting, folks, let's go ahead and go to our sponsor. Nobody.
PJ, how many hours does it normally call for?
8.
An 8-hour job. An 8-hour job, right? This man, with a little bit of hands-on from us, has successfully.
Fastest I've done it is an hour and a half. Or 3 hours, something like that.
Still,
By myself.
by himself, 3 hours on an 8-hour
Leading the
job.
brakes, everything.
He's also the kind of person who's worked on just about every kind of vehicle there is.
You want Ferraris, Lamborghinis, GTRs, and then diesel trucks, Cummins, Duramax, doesn't matter.
Also, if it's a Honda, this guy can tell you what's wrong with it without even touching it. Most of the time.
What's wrong with most things without touching it, regardless. Trust me, it's a good day when you get into as he looks at the vehicle and says, okay, this is your problem.
Last one.
In case you didn't catch that for the first 3, he's electrical taping the threads.
And the hole in the cover, it's covering the hole so that dirt and debris doesn't get into the line while he's trying to feed it. Yeah, as you may have noticed looking at the truck, it's got a little bit of rust. And the last thing you want is that rust to infiltrate the fluids and everything like that. So you cover up the hole that you feed with, keep yourself from having that issue.
Also, kids, the vehicle sitting for a long time creates a lot of rust and not being taken care of.
To be fair, in the state of Virginia, they use a lot of chemicals on the roads, salt differences in the salt and stuff. Especially since we have all 4 seasons here, rather than having more mild winters, or winters can get a little harsh sometimes, so they salt our roads. Those chemicals get into the metals. The metals corrode, create the rust. It's not good times for a lot of our cars, but it's still better than being up in Massachusetts or New York having that issue.
This is why it's imperative to wash your car often. Not every day, just often.
Proper maintenance will fix a lot of problems that come from issues like this.
And raining does not count as washing your car.
That's one of the rubber bump stops, everybody. That's on these trucks, which are leaf spring design. They have rubber bump stops that usually sit up in here, and those rubber bump stops are to help if the truck's weighed down or it bounces and it comes down and connects with the actual center of the shaft here and doesn't create any issues. It's basically just a buffer for that movement. But on the other side was already missing, and this side is now missing. So time to do some bags.
Definitely leave a like and subscribe to see this truck turn in from busted and rusted to actually nice. We'll be trying to keep up with its journey the entire way. Let's get some hardware.
Okay. Oh, so we got ourselves some caliper grease. We're going to actually use this on the e-brake hardware as well. We did get some new e-brake hardware, but this particular set of hardware is not necessarily like, it's always recommended that you replace it, but we might decide against it on this run. We're going to take a look at it and double check it all over and see if it really needs it. But here we go. Not bad. Just really needs to be greased. Everything inside the hardware seems like it's still nice and intact. I might just grease this up and see how it goes. Worst case scenario, I can always take it back apart. It's not like it's not accessible, right?
You know he doesn't look.
Huh?
You know he doesn't look. Him looking is like trying to tell me advice.
Yeah, you don't say. You know, you think for a guy my size, I live in a world where I'm used to looking down, but nope, still always keep my head to the clouds.
You see my baseball?
Hey
Quality
PJ.
check time, PJ. After you.
Hey PJ.
Yeah.
Question for you.
Yeah.
You feeling a little lightheaded?
All right.
Horrible jokes time.
All right. So now we have the park and brake on. We need to install the rotor. And when we install the rotor, we're going to be wanting to spin the rotor to listen to see if it's making contact with the shoe.
Okay.
And from there, we take a flathead screwdriver and we turn the gear to adjust the shoe outward. Now, we want to adjust the shoe until it's just starting to make contact with the rotor.
So that when you press the brake out,
It's
it presses
attention. Immediately. Now, when you go to slide it in and off, you might have to find that you might have to slide the shoe up and down, as you can see. Just center it once the rotor's on, but you'll keep adjusting it. Now, once you finish adjusting, you'll find that it's slightly, it might be tight getting back off. Now, you say, well, you might want to have this rotor off until you get that side done. The reason why, once we put the rotor on and have that slight drag on it, you know the park and brake shoe is touching. When you go to do the other side, when you spin the axle on this side, the other side spins. So when you're trying to feel over there, when you're on that side feeling it and it drags, you're like, is it dragging on this?
Does it spin on that side?
Yes.
Spin backwards.
Ah, that's right. When we feel.
So,
Just like RC cars.
So,
When we feel.
say you had the rotor on and you're adjusting that side, trying to feel drag, you'd be feeling the drag on this side. So after you adjust this side, take the rotor off, then do that side, adjust it, and then you can put your rotors on. Okay?
All right.
Now, when you pull your rotors out of the box,
They're gonna be covered, and I gotta clean.
something to look forward to. When you get brand new rotors, especially when you see the bare metal, manufacturers put a coating of oil on the rotor. And if you do not remove that coating of oil, when you go to stop, it doesn't stop very well because it has oil. It makes it slick. So
I've also seen them warp rotors because they've.
yes. So we're gonna take some brake clean on a rag and we're gonna clean the surfaces. Also the surface where the park and brake shoes contact the inside hat of the rotor. Is there anything in it?
Brake cleaner. Toy like a toiga.
All right, Mike Myers, calm down up there. Smoking a pancake? Bonging a blitz? Not quite there yet. We're getting somewhere. So from pretty well used e-brake shoes to brand new ones. Now, for anybody who's wondering why we're not just putting brand new e-brake shrouds on, dust covers on the back, it's mainly because of the level of work that entails. You actually have to remove the axles in order to do that, and we don't really got that much time today, so that'll probably be in another future episode as we continue to work on the car, and you know, it'll probably get done when we decide to lower the truck. But until then, we're just kind of making do with what we got. Technically, for Virginia State standards, for state inspection, it doesn't actually require it to be there. It just has to work. So as long as we get the e-brakes working, we'll be in pretty good shape. Truck. It's actually originally from West Virginia. It's northern altitude, a little bit more weather than we do. So that's kind of one of the reasons why we've got a lot of surface rust and stuff. We're gonna make sure we get it all taken care of.
New parts.
Times two. Alright. Just like before, we're going to take a look at the hardware down here. Make sure it's in good shape still.
Now, as you can see, it is
There's nothing on the bottom this
opposite
time.
of the other side.
These are literally identical e-brake setups. It's just when you go from that side, you flip it. So rather than being in an angle like this, now it is reversed.
Both sides look pretty good now. We're now putting the...
Yeah, we got our brand new rotors on. I just put my caliper bracket back on. I still got to do the passenger side, so you might see video of that. But now I'm putting my brake pads in.
I'm not really worried about doing the calipers. Pretty standard for brakes.
They are a little tight.
The dingo ate your baby.
Yes, PJ's a little crazy sometimes.
The dingo ate your baby.
Did you put them on backwards?
No, not necessarily. These are pretty ambidextrous. You should be able to put them on top or bottom. It's got a gap for the squealer there. Just really tight. Let me bring this up.
Don't suggest doing this at home, boys and girls.
Nope.
Don't use your brakes to
Hammer your brakes.
hammer your brakes. Usually doesn't work out. Especially when you've got a million other things to use, like a hammer or anything not your good brakes. Yes, that was a good footage of his big head.
Oh, she being a little offset. I just need to be cleaned again.
We'll come back once we got him in, just because of how much this is being a pain.
Rainbow colors.
All right. We are back at it again.
Replacing brake lines. Where you going?
And we're gonna go ahead and take a break for a while. All right, took a little finagling. Old equipment, it works.
Smoke break.
So, yeah, my fan wouldn't turn on because of this.
It's fan relay.
Yes,
A little bad.
a little bit.
PJ, these count. All right, everybody. New rotors, brakes, everything's on. Lines are on. Now time to bleed.
Yep. Good stuff. We gotta clean up first and then ready to bleed.
All right, we're fast forward for that. All right, everybody who's tuning in with us, we are in the process of bleeding the brakes. Mr. PJ has his suction tool on, and basically what he's doing with that is he's utilizing it to pull pressure on the lines to pull the fluid from the booster and pre-prime the lines. All right, Mr. PJ, explain the process real quick for bleeding brake lines.
Okay, so what we're doing, we're hooking up our vacuum tool. We're opening up the bleeder screw and we're sucking out the air until we get fluid going to the vacuum tool. To assist the vacuum tool in getting the air out, I'm slowly pumping the brakes So right now we've already done both rear, and then we're doing the right front right now, and we'll do the left front. You always start with the wheel furthest away from the brake mass cylinder, which is the right rear, then the left rear, right front, then left front. Once we perform that, we'll go ahead and do a pressure bleed. Once we do a pressure bleed with my assistant here inside, and I will break the bleeder screws loose. Once we do that, we will proceed to do the bleed procedure through the ABS module with a scan tool. Once we do that, we'll do another pressure bleed, and then following that, another automated bleed procedure with the scan tool to reassure that we get all the air out of the system.
So here we are in the master's labyrinth. So this is the process he was talking about, where he's pinging the ABS module
To purge out all the air out of the ABS module.
So we're almost done.
Yeah, it's getting stiffer.
All right, everybody, sorry about the missing weirdo. He had to go home, so I'm here to fill in for the last little bit. We have the vehicle finished, and not bad if I do say so myself. The new wheels tend to give off a good look. Brake lines are on. Everything seems to be working order, including the patina. But this is what she turned out to be, at least for now. Special thanks to the man, the myth, the legend, the PJ. And here's where we'll end it. Y'all have a great one.